Coach, it's Michael and Don. How you doing?
How you doing, guys? Great to talk to you.
Well, good to talk to you as well. Are you over the loss yet? I mean, how long does it take? You work all season to get to the tournament, and then it's over.
Well, honestly, you can't complain about this. We have great jobs, but this is the toughest part of the job. It gradually goes away, but I don't get over it until the final game of the NCAA tournament. Monday night, when that final game's over, you kind of get over the fact that, okay, you're not there, didn't happen. And then on Tuesday, everybody's starting fresh on the new season. I'll be fine on Tuesday.
So you're still thinking about the loss now?
Definitely. You can't. Well, I mean, you don't. If you didn't ask me about it, I wouldn't talk about it. But you're thinking about it all the time. You're watching the other games, and you're saying we could have been there. I'm watching UConn in the Final Four, and really happy for Kevin and Ollie. Love them, man, and they did a great job against us. But you watch the film of that game, and you see things we could have done to win the game, and then you see how far they advanced, and you say, hey, that could have been us.
Now, great acting in a Dove soap commercial.
Yeah, outstanding.
And I'm wondering, do you enjoy when it comes on while you're watching the games?
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny. They told me that they were going to start that on March 17th, the Tuesday after Selection Sunday. So I didn't tell anybody that I did it because I did it back like in October. And we had a big selection show. We had about 1,000 people watching the selection show at Villanova to see where we're going to play. And then all of a sudden it popped up. It shocked the hell out of me, and the whole place went crazy. And everybody looked at me like, why didn't you say something? I said, I didn't think it was coming out till Tuesday. I didn't know how I was going to tell anybody. But I've only seen it a couple times, watching TV. So it's a little uneasy when you see it.
Well, let's break down this Final Four. It's interesting. Let's look at the first game, Florida and UConn. Give me some keys, Jay.
Well, I think there's two things here. All during the year we talked about, all of us I think talked about this, anybody could win the national championship, up for grabs. But the last third of the season, Florida really proved themselves to be, I think, the dominant team in college basketball. They've got seniors. They've got a guy in Will Buchanan that can make plays at the end of the clock and at the end of the game. They have the most depth. They got the most experience. I think they're the favorite. Connecticut is one of the hottest teams, and they also, in Shabazz Napier, have a guy that can make plays at the end of the game, the end of the clock, which is really important at this time of year. If they can keep it close, if UConn can keep it close, at the end, I think the game pressure gets on Florida because they are the favorite. And Connecticut's really tough in a tight game at the end because of Napier. But if it's not close at the end, I pick Florida to win that.
Coach, can you see the differences between Kevin Ollie and Calhoun?
There are some differences. I see mostly similarities. I think the differences, I don't know if they're purposeful. I think he was left a roster with not as much power players, more perimeter players. So I think he adjusted. I don't know if he's going to change it and go back to the way Jim used to play with a lot bigger, powerful front court people or not. Now, his front court guys that are bigger are young, so, they might develop into that. But the similarities are the great pride that Jim Calhoun built in Connecticut basketball, and I know Kevin really, really believes in that and has passed that down to the coaches and the players on that team.
Off the beaten path, the question about Ollie and Calhoun, and maybe you're best suited to answer something like this. They say the right things, but Jim Calhoun was on center stage with me, Jay, and said that he's not ruling out coaching again. He wants to coach. And he's sitting behind the bench, and he's such a big figure in UConn. Do you think that it probably wears on Ollie? Would it be like Raleigh Massimino sitting behind you every single game you coach for 2 years?
I'm glad I would have a chance to say this because those two guys I have great respect for, different relationships with both of them, but great respect for both of them. I remember Jim told me 2 or 3 years ago, I remember exactly where we were sitting in an AAU game in Washington, D.C. Jim was sitting between me and Kevin, and Jim said to me, this kid's going to be a superstar. He said, this guy could be the next head coach of Connecticut, and I really want him to be. He's great. I would love for him to take over for me. This was it might have been 3 or 4 years ago. So And then I saw Jim when we were both in Buffalo, obviously, and I saw Jim, and it seems to me he's taking great pride in it, and Kevin, and I know Kevin thinks the world of him, and I've talked to Kevin. Lenny loves having him around. So I think it's I think it's a really good vibe there. I really do.